Anthropic drops Claude Opus 4.7 with triple resolution vision and self-verifying outputs. But the bigger story might be what's happening around it. Open source developers are already shipping autonomous coding agents that sit alongside humans on project boards. Meanwhile, the job market is splitting in two, and Gary Marcus is asking whether anyone's checked the math on the AI boom's biggest bets. From the team at the Synthetic Daily, it's Friday, April 17th, 2026. Good to have you with us.
We went through about 74 posts, articles, and threads across LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube to find what people are talking about. Let's get into it.
Anthropic shipped Claude Opus 4.7 today, and Alexander Zajac, who works at Amazon, was all over LinkedIn with the announcement. The headline features sound incremental until you actually unpack them. This model verifies its own outputs before reporting back to you. Let that sink in for a second. We've gone from models that confidently hallucinate to models that are supposed to double-check their own homework. Anthropic is essentially saying, you can hand off your hardest work with less supervision.
Right, and what's interesting is, the vision improvements are striking too, more than 3 times the resolution of previous models. That's not just a nice-to-have for image recognition. It means the model can now look at a complex UI mockup, a dense slide deck, or a technical diagram and actually parse the details. Zajac specifically called out higher quality interfaces, slides, and documents as outputs. So we're talking about a model that can both see better and build better.
But here's the thing that caught our attention in the broader conversation around this launch. Gadir Hourway Shady wrote a fascinating breakdown of what actually happens when you use Claude Code. It turns out you're not really talking to a model at all. You're talking to a 46,000-line query engine that decides what the model sees, what tools it can touch, and when to stop. There's a Claude.md file that acts like a constitution, an agent loop that cycles through gather context, take action, verify, repeat. A single bug fix might cycle dozens of times through that loop. The model is powerful, sure, but the orchestration layer around it is doing enormous heavy lifting. That distinction matters as we think about what better models actually means in practice. It's never just a model. All right, next up, here's something that would have sounded like science fiction 2 years ago. Chorik Malmum flagged that right on the heels of Anthropic announcing managed agents, someone has already shipped an open-source version called Multica. And what it does is genuinely wild. You assign a coding issue to an AI agent the same way you'd assign it to a human developer. The agent picks it up, writes the code, reports blockers, updates its status autonomously. It posts comments, creates issues, flags blockers proactively. It even shows up in the same assignee dropdown as your human teammates.
This isn't a chatbot sitting in a sidebar. This is a synthetic coworker integrated into the actual workflow tooling. Your project board, your issue tracker, your team's daily stand-up artifacts. It works with Claude Code, Codex, Gemini CLI, and others, and it's fully self-hostable if you want to keep everything on your own infrastructure.
Meanwhile, Harrison Chase over at LangChain is pushing in a similar direction with their Fleet platform. They just added user-scoped memory, so each person interacting with a deployed agent gets their own persistent context. Chase gave the example of a go-to-market agent shared across a sales team. Same capabilities for everyone, but each rep builds up their own knowledge base of accounts, deals, and communication preferences over time. He also shipped usage and cost tracking, so you can see exactly what agents or users are running, what tools they're calling, and how much it all costs. That's not experimental tooling. That's enterprise infrastructure. The message from both of these developments is the same. Agents aren't a feature anymore. They're becoming team members with their own profiles, their own memory, and their own line items in the budget. Now, shifting gears a bit, Gary Marcus is back with a Substack piece called Peak Absurdity, Part 2, and whether you love him or find him exhausting, the man keeps receipts. He's revisiting a call he made back when Oracle stock was riding high on reports of a massive OpenAI deal. Oracle was up 43% at the time, and Marcus wrote an essay called Peak Bubble, arguing the math didn't add up. OpenAI didn't have $300 billion. They weren't close to it. Their own projections showed no profit until 2030. And Oracle didn't have the chips to fulfill the contracts or the cash to buy them.
Which is wild, right? Because now he's back to check the scoreboard, and he also dropped a one-liner on LinkedIn that's been getting traction. The future of AI is not a prediction problem. It is a verification problem. That single sentence captures something important. We've gotten remarkably good at generating outputs, code, text, images, entire applications. What we haven't solved is knowing whether those outputs are correct, safe, or aligned with what we actually wanted.
It's interesting to read Marcus alongside the Opus 4.7 announcement, actually. Anthropic is building self-verification directly into the model that gather, act, verify, repeat loop. That's a tacit admission that Marcus's point has teeth. The frontier labs know that raw generation capability isn't the bottleneck anymore. Trust is. And Nathan Lambert over on Substack is wrestling with a related question from the open source side, asking whether open models can keep up with closed labs. His honest assessment: no, not in every area. But the real question is where the capability gap stabilizes and what that means for the ecosystem. The framing that open models will simply catch up to parity. Lambert says that prediction is looking increasingly naive. Jan LeCun popped up with a short but significant post. Nexar's Bottas 2.0 collision prediction system is built on VJEPA 2. For those unfamiliar, JEPA, Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture, is LeCun's long-running bet that the future of AI isn't about generating tokens, but about learning world models through prediction in representation space. And now it's being deployed in a real product that's trying to prevent car crashes.
LeCun's been having a busy week. He was at the Ride AI conference in San Francisco, where he discussed Nissan's new announcement to bring autonomy to 90% of their worldwide vehicles, and a $60 million investment from Qualcomm, AMD, and ARM into Wave. He also showed up at the first-ever PyTorch conference Europe in Paris, where the PyTorch Foundation announced new hosted projects including Helion and SafeTensors. And he flagged the Digital Brain Project, €5 million to fund international teams building open-source models of the human brain for science and medicine.
What ties all of this together is LeCun's consistent thesis that the path to truly capable AI runs through understanding the physical world, not through scaling language models. When he says JEPA is going to save lives, he's not just being hyperbolic about a dashcam feature. He's arguing that architecture is built to understand spatial and temporal relationships, the kind of understanding you need to predict a collision before it happens, represent a fundamentally different and ultimately more important direction for the field. Whether you buy that argument or not, the fact that it's now shipping in production safety systems means the debate is no longer theoretical. Let's talk about something completely different. There's a pattern forming just beneath the surface of today's news, and it's worth pulling together. Ben Thompson, Ben from Ben's Bytes, is literally on a plane downloading local models because his flight has no Wi-Fi, and he's choosing Gemma 4 at 26 billion parameters to run his agents offline. Think about that for a second. We've reached the point where a VC and newsletter writer can run a competitive language model on a laptop at 30,000 feet.
But the flip side of that accessibility is that the infrastructure layer is becoming the real differentiator. Alexander Zajac wrote about what he calls the most common AI app builder mistake. You prompt a builder, get a working app, ship it on day 1. Day 14, a real user hits a bug, and you realize you have no staging environment, no CI pipeline, no rollback button. Every fix is a live experiment on real users. Meanwhile, every engineer at Google or Meta gets dev, staging, and production environments with one-click rollback on their first day.
This is the unsexy story of 2026. The models are increasingly commoditized. You can run them locally on a plane. The magic is in the scaffolding, the Claude.md files, the agent orchestration loops, the user-scoped memory that Harrison Chase is building, the cost-tracking dashboards, the CI pipelines that catch your typo before it hits production. Ruben Hassid has been posting prolifically about Claude setup workflows, and while his posts read like checklists, the underlying message is dead serious. How you configure and orchestrate these tools matters more than which model you're running. The gap between hobbyist AI use and professional AI use isn't the model. It's everything around the model. All right, let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture. What are the main themes running through everything we covered today? The first big theme is verification as the new frontier. The industry is converging on the realization that generating outputs is a solved problem, while proving those outputs are trustworthy is the actual bottleneck shaping product design, model architecture, and market confidence.
Next, agents as organizational actors. AI systems are being embedded into the social and procedural fabric of teams. Assigned tasks given profiles tracked in budgets, which means organizational design theory, not just ML research, will determine how well they perform.
And the last one, infrastructure over intelligence. As model capabilities commoditize and even run locally on laptops, the durable competitive advantage is shifting to orchestration layers, deployment pipelines, and persistent context management.
So if you're going to take away a few things from today's episode, here's what I'd remember.
Number 1, the model you're running matters less than the orchestration, context, and infrastructure you've wrapped around it. That's where the real competitive moat lives in 2026.
Number 2, if AI agents are showing up in your team's assignee dropdown today, your org chart and management philosophy need to be redesigned by tomorrow.
And finally, self-verification in AI outputs isn't a nice feature. It's the prerequisite for every serious enterprise deployment from here forward. That's the Synthetic Daily for today. All the sources and links are on the website if you want to dig deeper.
Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.
Everybody dancing.